Greetings. So I have two paranormal stories that you've never heard before because they happened to me and I've never told them on the internet before. So here they go. They both happened in New Mexico, and both of these paranormal occurrences happened to me. The first one took place in Albuquerque, and at the near Sandia Mountain. Now, Sandia means watermelon because every night when the sun goes down, it hits the mountain and it turns it red like a watermelon. And I lived at the end of Candelaria Boulevard, which is a large boulevard that runs east and west straight into the mountain. And I lived in some condominiums at the base of the mountain. And the mountain is very flat there, and then when the mountain it just shoots up really straight, like at a 78-degree angle. And it's a very tall mountain. It's at the very base. It's at the very southernmost tip of the Rocky Mountains. It's the last mountain in the whole range, pretty much, and it's huge. It's so tall that even in the summertime, it snows at the top. And there's a lift that you can take up there, and I went up there one time, and it was freezing cold. Even though it was summertime, it was freezing cold at the top. So it was a very tall mountain, and very beautiful mountain, and there's a lot of weird stuff that happens around there. There's also an Air Force base nearby called Kirkland Air Force Base. And New Mexico's infamous for UFO activity and strange secret government projects anyway. And so I was coming home from work one night, and I was, like I said, I was right there at the base of Sandy Mountain near Candelaria, where a lot of weird stuff happens. I'll get into that later. But so I was reaching out for my mail, and I just happened to be looking in the right direction to see this because it happened very quickly. It happened within about 5 seconds. But a huge ball of light, I would say 10 feet in diameter, just a bright ass ball, super bright ball of white light, shot up from the base of the mountain, because I was probably about 200 yards from where it goes straight up. And I was looking straight towards the mountain. And so it came from right at the base of the mountain. There was a little park there. It seemed to be coming from that area. And it shot up, and it followed the contour of the mountain, kind of like a cruise missile. It stayed about, I'd say, 20 or 30 feet above the ground, but as the mountain changed shape, it followed followed the curvature of it all the way over and went right over the top and disappeared. And it must have been going like 100, 200 miles an hour, just super fast. And it was really, really bright, and it made the ground beneath it light up. And it couldn't have been fireworks because it didn't make any noise at all. And this is before we had drones. Even a drone couldn't move that quickly, and it was huge, and just the brightest thing I've ever seen. And it was just weird the way it followed the contour of the surface of the mountain as it went over. And yeah, so that's the story. And then, it just shocked me, and I went home and I did some research online, and I googled balls of light in Albuquerque. And sure enough, back in the 40s, there was an incident where a lot of people were seeing green balls of light, and the Kirkland Air Force Base got involved, and it was kind of like the Roswell incident, where they first they were interested in what's going on, and then they some big brass showed up and said, oh, it was just swamp gas or weather balloon or whatever, and they just kind of blew it off. And what else is interesting is they're right there at the base of Candelaria, of the mountain, right where Candelaria ends into the mountain. There's a story about it's supposed to be haunted by this crazy guy who would lure prostitutes into a cave and kill them. And people said they would see like a lantern or a ball of light or something like that like it was a lantern light or something floating around, a spirit light, a ghost light or something like that. So that's just a lot of weirdness there, and I definitely saw something that I can't explain. Even with today's technology, and this was back in 2006. Anyway, the second story happened in Taos, New Mexico, which is about 200 miles north of there. I guess about 100 or so miles. Anyway, Taos, Taos. It's a little mountain town, also near a big mountain, Taos Mountain. I was a cab driver, and I took a couple and a girl that I just met that night to a casino on the Pueblo. We were going on to the Native American land. The Taos were never kicked off their land there. It's a big secret, but they fought off the Spaniards and the American army and everybody, and they have this Pueblo that they've lived in for thousands of years. It's the oldest building that people are still living in the United States of America. It's thousands of years old. And American people aren't even allowed on the Pueblo unless you have a reason to be there. But they have a casino, and it's as soon as you come on to the property. I love all the vroomers we got here in Florida. They drive around and make noise with their, I call them vroomers. Anyway, so as soon as you come on to the Pueblo, there's a casino. It's about a mile in, and you cross a river, and then you go another half a mile, and then you're there at the casino. And this couple wanted to go there, and so did this girl that I just met. She was about my age, like 40 at the time, and she kept saying how she was psychic, and I just thought it was funny, just a quirky woman who thought she was psychic. I meet these kind of women a lot, especially in Taos. But this woman was definitely psychic, because when we got to the casino, it was like 11:55, and they closed at 12, and they said, okay, well, we'll let you come in. We didn't know it was going to close at 12, so they said, well, we'll let you come in and we'll let you pull one slot machine, but then you have to go, because we came all that way, right? So they let us in, and we all just kind of went to the first slot machine that we could find. But the girl I was with went way in the back, and she kept looking at real carefully at all the machines, and kind of like holding up her hand to try to feel the energy from it. And she walked way in the back, almost to the very, very furthest slot machine, but not quite. And she, oh, this is the one. And then she put in her money. She put in a $5 in quarters, and she pulled the slot, and she won like 150 bucks. Boom, just like that. And of course, none of us won anything. But she was sure, she knew that that machine was going to win. And sure enough, it did. And I thought that was pretty amazing. And so we all left, and we got in the car. And as we were leaving, we just crossed over this river, and this beautiful white stallion crossed the road. And it was weird because there was a fence on the left side, but I didn't see it jump over the fence or go through the fence. I didn't see any hole in the fence. It just seemed, it must have just gone through it somehow. And the thing about the stallion was it seemed to be kind of moving in slow motion. Like it had this long, beautiful mane, and it was just flowing in the wind, and it was almost glowing white. It was pure white, and it must have been the moonlight bouncing off of it, because it was just glowing, in the darkness, and like luminescent. And it came out of nowhere, and it just ran off into the darkness and disappeared. But it was like showing itself to us, because we were the only car out there for hours, and this thing was probably 50 feet in front of us, and I didn't hear any noise or anything, like it was galloping. And the horse, there's a lot of horses out there on the Pueblo, but they're ponies. This thing was like a stallion, a big, huge, beautiful white stallion with like just long, beautiful hair. And I swear to God, it was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen, most beautiful horse I've ever seen. And I just stopped the car while I think I slowed down to a crawl, and we just watched it flow across the street, and like a dream. It was like, and I looked over at the other people. I was like, "Did you see that?" And they were all just like, jaw dropped, eyes wide open. Yeah, we saw it. And we just kept driving, and I just thought that was very amazing. So I, of course, went back and did some internet search on a white stallion in Taos, and it turns out that there has been other sightings of this white stallion. It's they call it the spirit of Taos, and apparently it only shows itself to certain people. It may have been because of that girl that I was with that was psychic. She might have had something to do with it, or me, because I was new there, and I was helping people get home. I was the only cab driver in that whole. I started my own cab company. I was the only cab in that town, even though people visited all the time. And I was always helping people, and I really loved it there. I stayed there for like 6 or 7 years, and I did a lot for that town. I made a comic book about it, Taos Comics, and I just saw a lot of weird things there. And the more I was there, the more the place blew my mind. The history of it all. But I'm not going to get into that right now. So, yeah, I think I saw the spirit of Taos that night. And it's a beautiful white stallion, and there's been other sightings of it in town. They saw it in the American part of the town, just walking around. And so those are my 2 stories. I hope you liked them. I have another story that someone else told me. This one I'll throw in just for kicks. I was. This also has to do with that casino, and I was a cab driver, and I would take the night security guard to work at night, and it was a woman, an older woman in her 60s, and I'd pick her up, and I'd take her to work at about 10 or 11 at night, or maybe it was midnight. She worked, the night shift there after they closed. And I was always asking people to tell me their craziest stories, and so I was like, do you have any weird stories you can tell me about Taos? So she said, oh yeah, I got a bunch of them. And I said, well, tell me your craziest one, your weirdest one. And this is what she told me. She said, one night, her and her family were sitting around in their trailer, in a trailer park behind Walmart there in town. And they were all sitting around in the kitchen talking, and they had the back door open, and this creature ran into the kitchen, and it stood there right in the middle of the kitchen, and it looked all around at everybody, and everybody stared at it, and nobody said a word. And she said it was the way she described this creature, it was humanoid, but it was about 4 feet tall, and it had real white skin, real scaly skin, and almond eyes, these big almond-shaped eyes, and it was real skinny, and it just looked at everybody, and then it ran out, and everybody just stared at each other like, what the hell was that? And I went, and after she told me that story, I went and I put that into the search engine, and it came up with this creature people call the chimera, which just north of Taos and to the west is a place called Dulce, and Dulse, and it's a deep military underground base that's actually more top secret than Area 51 because they do genetic testing there and cloning and weird, genetic experiments on human beings apparently, and apparently these things get out. They have like a farm of these creatures, and if let's say I was a rich elite and I needed a new ear, they could take my DNA and grow an ear on one of these chimeras, and then cut it off and graft it back onto me, or whatever body part I need, a heart or a liver or something like that. And because the problem is not just finding a donor for these things, but whether or not your body will reject it or not. So these chimeras, you somehow you can use your own DNA so that your body won't reject the body part that you grow off of it. And I don't know. So some people say these creatures escape from the farm, and that's probably what this was. And there's also another incident online of a video that was captured. I forget what it's called, but they captured it on video, and it looks just like this woman explained. It's like the Dobby. They call it the Dobby video or whatever. It looks like Dobby from Harry Potter, just a little skinny dude walking, and it's weird how you never get to see the end of that video. Strange, but yeah. So I believe that's what it is. One of these creatures that got away from the Dulce genetic farm, and they call it a chimera. Anyway, those are my 3 stories. Hope you liked them. Have a spooky night. Have a spoopy night.